Yes, welcome back, everybody.
You got moves.
Welcome back to the closeout of round 2, Group C for the GFC. I am here with Mr. Van Flo.
Why, hello, everybody.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and close out Group C and get this judging taken care of once again. Apologies, Blitzen was not able to be here due to scheduling conflicts, and Anime J and Rhapsody, again, same kind of deal. But we're going to go ahead and close this round out for you guys and make sure that we get this to you without any further delay. Once again, we do appreciate everybody's patience in the meantime. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today, we are going to be taking a look at HVTTER, Lupo, Starstream Tut, Creepa, and Tut Kida. So again, just one more reminder for everybody at home. The way this works is that each Glover submitted 2 light shows. Those light shows are each worth 40 points. And at the end of round 2, each Glover will have earned a total of up to 80 points. And the top 3 scores from each group will move on. Now, if there is a tie for 3rd place, as we have in both Group A and Group B, we move on to a redemption round. And I'll make a separate video, I will explain that in a separate video in the round 2 wrap up that we're gonna go ahead and do later, but that'll probably be on my own here. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it and get taking a look at HVTTER.
2, 3, 4.
Product of the 90s production.
Are you ready? 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 Are you ready?
Certainly was fun.
Yeah, I like that one a lot.
You know, I feel like I've said that a lot. Like, that show was fun, but I don't think people understand the importance of making sure your show is fun. Like,
yes,
fun is a weird topic. I wanna just kind of go off on a small tangent for a second here, because I think people really underestimate the value of fun, right? Because everything's always like, is that the clean? Is it the best? Like, the idea of having fun in a show and being able to amplify that and having the ability to push past anything and just be confident in that fun and being able to show that is so undervalued. Like, let me know you're having a good time when you're giving a light show. Like, please. If I'm watching light show videos, chances are I'm trying to have a good time. If you are already having a good time, chances are I'm more likely to have a good time after that while watching your video. And now I'm officially having a great time. Not that I wasn't already, but now I officially am. But Mr. Van Flo, tell me, my side is a lot of fun and showmanship and delivery, which he did very well on. But Tell me about the technical side of that.
Yeah, I think I certainly have some choice words in a good way. Um, this was a really good example, I think, of like you can see that this man has a lot of technical skill, but he, how do I put it? If he pushes himself technically, he can do a lot more. However, like that much is very visible. However, he kept to a level that was very visibly comfortable. Uh, and he was able to have a lot of fun. Like there is a certain state that you're in where you're able to play with the things that you know really well. Um, and it's one of those things where what a lot of people will do, they might be sort of where he is technically roughly and try to push for an extra point and then sacrifice like 5 points collectively in other categories. He did not do that. And he just let his technical skill show in certain little subtleties that come out like, oh, it's a little piece there. You get a little like it's a sense of contrast, I think, when you do get that sort of that sense of there's more beyond what you're seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say there's one thing I do want to one thing I want to note because I don't want to like while this was a great show, there's definitely room for improvement, and the improvement I see at the forefront of this is actually comes from that same thing, that fun that I was enjoying so much. Is there were a few points where he kind of let the hype of the song just kind of take him over a little bit, and you know, like when he's like, are you ready? And he's like, you can tell he's just like he's got his shoulders over, and he's just very like he's very amped, like very like I don't want to say anxious, but he's like anticipating something. And the problem with when I can see that is it shows me that you're not 100% calm, cool, and collected, because you can be having a great time and be showing all this emotion and still be, you know, zen, you know, up here. Yeah, and you can still see both. And the biggest key of that to me is the shoulders. Like your shoulders, if your shoulders are up here like this, or you're like here, there, I can immediately see that, and I can immediately see that you are holding tension and you are like holding back excitement. So like, drop your shoulders, people. Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think can only be well described via metaphor, because it's not like a super technical thing. It's a feeling thing.
I agree. Go ahead.
And I think of it in like one of two ways. Like from a dance perspective, I've been told this where there's a sense of like you have a beast that like wants to get out, but you have to keep it like reined in, and there's this energy that instead of letting it out like all over the place, you need it like a laser focus. And there's a certain feeling that goes along with that when I would be told things like that in such a way, it would sort of start clicking for me. So I find that sort of language useful.
You know, and that's a good, and piggybacking off of that, I think another good metaphor for how you could talk about it is that you have the capability, if you talk about it like, if you're talking about water, right? You have the capability to produce the water pressure of a fire hose, right?
Sure.
And you have to learn how to let go at a faucet, like enough to wash your hands in a faucet one time. You've got the fire hose, right, that can put out a whole fire in seconds, but you need to just wash your hands. Like you need to learn how to wash your hands with the fire hose, I guess.
Yeah.
Am I picking up what you're putting down? Is that what's going on over?
I think you're kind of getting at it. Okay. I mean, I don't want to get into like technicalities of a metaphor. It's like it's a metaphor. It's about what it feels like.
I get you. I just want to make sure that because I think I get the feeling you're talking about, and that's why I wanted to try to produce a similar metaphor to see if we can get that. But I think we're on the same path. But anyway, that was Sad Hatter. That was a cool show. Just kind of rein in that beast and hold the fire hose a little bit, and we'll keep it going. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's take a look at Lupo. All right, and that was Lupo. So, Mr. Van Flo, what did you see in that light show?
Well, I'd say this doesn't fall under my category, but the first thing I noticed was that it was really dark. It was a little hard to see what was going on sometimes. I feel like it sometimes when you're starting a show, you kind of have like a rough start, and it's kind of hard to get going. I kind of had that feeling from this one. Um, I would say, he was hitting some things, not so much others. Like with his use of space, he was able to like when he found himself like kind of pulling himself back from the rut that he started off in. You can see things like, okay, I remember I have this baseline point that I go back to, and you could see him getting a little more comfortable there and flowing, getting back into the flow. And I think it is important that he sort of kind of found it and kept moving on. And I'd say that's the thing that sort of stood out the most to me, was like how he sort of came out of that rut and like kind of brought himself back a little bit.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. I do actually, small caveat. This has nothing to do with the light show score or anything. And I mentioned this in I believe Group A in round 1. But please, when you're gonna record, wipe down your camera lens ever so slightly. That fog that shows up around the lights on the edge, and that fog around there, that is 100% just going to be solved by a quick wipe of the lens with a little microfiber towel that they get for glasses, or like a lens brush or anything. You can get them for like $5 or $2 or as a whole. They're quite easy. But anyway,
for the love of God, don't wipe it with your shirt.
Yeah. Oh, please do not. Please. Yeah. Disclaimer: do not use the shirt, please. That is not the way to go on that. But camera work aside, I fully agree with you. I definitely think that he had to get going a little bit, and just kind of again piggybacking off of that. Sometimes it's worth just recording again. If you can tell that you were like getting going, it's definitely worth trying one more time and seeing if you can get that other take done, excuse me, that might not have that beginning part where you're kind of off a little bit. And it's an extra 5 minutes in front of the camera realistically between getting yourself set, setting up, hitting record, recording a minute and a half, and maybe like watching the minute and a half afterwards too. So that extra 5 minutes really, really will save you, and it will. I promise you, it's 100% worth it. But that being said, on this particular take, I did notice a couple things that I did like. I noticed different levels that he's playing with, different depth perceptions. Like there was a lot of stuff there was some stuff he did over here that was, even though it was small and it was farther back, it was kind of meant to be, because it almost gave the idea that you're seeing something happen off in the distance. But it's like it's something in the distance from a close picture. It's like if you were to see like a painting of, this painting is like this, this landscape, and it's like, grassy field and like sky, and there's like farmhouse like right in the middle. Like that's what I saw. I saw the farmhouse in that little move that he did like all the way back here. It was just this nice little arc that hit perfectly, and it's one thing that really stuck out to me very nicely. And I definitely think that he should explore more of that. So kudos to Lupo, great job.
Yeah, and riding off of that, there's one thing that you pointed out that you did right that I see wrong a lot when I trade with people, and it bothers me to no end. It is when you do really big moves like the King Tuts and being able to build these big stuff, as you were saying, you need to back up. Like you can't be doing like King Tuts and stuff like right up here. I don't want to have to move my head and follow you around. So
if you're trying to envelop their field of view with something, it's one thing, but again, that requires a lot of nuance. And but you're right, Lupo did pull that off very well.
Yeah, 100%. One of those you got to know the rules before you break them type of thing.
Absolutely. Well, anyway, that was Lupo. Let's go ahead and move on, and let's go ahead and take a look at Starstream Tut.
Looking forward to this one.
Synchronicity.
Well, that was quite the contrast from his first round.
Remember at the beginning when I was telling you that there were some people I saw in the Discord that I realized they were holding back that first round?
Mm-hmm. This might have been one of them.
He was. When I saw him in the Discord, I was like, dude, what the heck? What? There's no comparison. That was just phenomenal. It was so that the difficulty concepts there. It was one of those things where it's like it's not the like most super duper dexterity heavy, like 10-point clusters type of thing. But it like the level of knowledge of how to move around the grid and create all these shapes and how to manipulate them and how to like fold things down and bring them out into other shapes. And
I like to call
it,
that the complex brain timing, the patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time kind of stuff.
yeah, that, and he's getting kind of breaking into the territory of digital liquid, which I don't see a lot.
Stuff
I
like where he's doing like where he was doing like this or something where he was like pulling this guy here.
Yeah.
He was doing it way more complicated and really creating like a cause and effect between that and just building so many characters and I felt like he was building what's
like use of space. It's kind of funny when the technicality and use of space like categories start kind of meshing together and you're thinking like, which aspects should this go into? And it's like, yeah, it's kind of both. Like the use of space kind of becomes part of the technicality, and I absolutely love seeing that.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the showmanship here for a second because the song that he chose is very like, like there's again it's synchronicity, so it was very like there was a lot going on, but it was very like constantly a lot. So even though there's a lot going on, there's also not a lot going on. So being able to present a show within that restriction is very difficult, and it shows an understanding of capability just in that on its own, and it was just I like it. Again, the word of the group is nuance.
Yeah, that kind of music too. That's a kind of music that like a lot of that like slower, glitchy music, like say for instance, I don't know, someone like Mr. Bill or something. You see a lot in communities of people who are say like liquid dancers, especially like people who mess around like digital liquid. You see it a lot with like the techie flow art spinners is super popular with people like that. And I see a little bit of that mentality there. It's kind of funny how the music can sort of carry that feel between art forms. It's really cool.
Absolutely, and Starstream I know is someone who pulls from all types of flow and dance for inspiration. So no surprise that he really showed that off. So just major kudos to him. But let's move on. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next Glover up, and that is going to be Creepa.
Well,
yeah. I'm
my man done smashed it.
yeah. That's honestly, there really isn't much to say about Creepa's light shows. Like, what do you want me to say? They're amazing. It's like these like This is a guy that I'll admit, like, when I was organizing this tournament, I personally hunted this dude down and was like, yo, sign up, please.
Yeah. This man, his inspirations and movesets are very diverse, but at the same time, all the things that he pulls from, even the flower flails that he uses, they're done correctly. Like, it's very true to like the sources of his inspirations, and his execution is so on point. That's not my category, but man,
Go
that
off. Go ahead.
execution.
Go ahead. Go off.
Yeah, he's matching the music so well, and like not only that, but like when you have a sound in a song that has like a certain like texture to it, and not only are you hitting that sound, but you're hitting the texture of the sound, and that man, this man had a strong intro.
I totally okay. I absolutely want to snipe into that real quick. You want to talk about textures of sound? Like this guy, you hit the nail right on the head. Like for anyone watching that is going, what do they mean texture and sound? What we mean, okay, is that when you hear sounds, okay, when you hear things like there is a texture, you can, if you could turn that sound into a surface that you'd rub your hand across, that's the texture that you'd get. And or if you were to dip it into a vat of a liquid version of the sound, that's what it would feel like, depending on what the temperature is. But I don't know about you, but that was absolute fire. So I'm probably gonna take this hoodie off after this episode because it's even at 72 in my house. I'm still warm after that. Holy smokes, man! The delivery. Okay, let's talk about this man's delivery for a second because the transition game cannot be denied, and I'll toot my own horn for a second as the transitions coach on You Got Moves. I know a little bit of something about transitions. You mentioned that he does all these things that are somewhat common, but does them the right way, and he does them in a way that everything, and I've said this a lot, but everything was on purpose 100%, and everything was not only was it on purpose, but if you were trying to put his combos into like 8, 10, 12 step things, you might not be able to figure out where things start and finish, and that is the point. I should not, under any circumstances, be able to tell where your concepts start or end. So, Creepa, kudos to you on delivery. I will say this is my only 5 on delivery in this group.
Yeah, there's some 5s that this man, I feel bad handing out such high scores because I like to be a little harsh, but man,
Yeah, same.
making it tough. And
Let me be mean,
also
people. I'm here.
Also, you said something about some. I never said anything about those moves being common. I just said he's true to the inspirations. A lot of them are not
true.
common.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I apologize.
There are some flails that he was doing that I have not seen. You know, things that I'll use that I just don't see other people pull off.
Yeah, I should say yeah. Like there was a lot of stuff in there that was absolutely not common. I did not want to say that like his moves were not complex or unique or anything like that. But the overall, I was referring to the overall ideas. I apologize. You're right. That totally came across that way. So I'm not trying to drop mans because like dude put down. So I'm gonna just put it down and say let's go ahead and move on to our last lover for the episode because there's not much else to say about that. But before I do move on, I just want to talk about this last lover here. This is a guy named Tut Kida, and he is from India, from the other side of the world. And I just want to say my heart absolutely goes out to everything going on over there right now. We've been through it as a country, and you know I cannot express my condolences enough. We're going to go ahead and do everything we can to get some relief over there and assist. But before we get into that, I do want to just say that it's awesome to see that Tut Kida is someone who won their entry from Napski. He wanted to do a giveaway for a spot, and he gave it to Tut Kida. And because of that, we have not only Australian competitors, but an Indian competitor as well. And he is absolutely killing it on the scorecard. So I cannot wait to see if he moves on to the playoff round with another killer show here. So let's go ahead and take a look at Tut Kida. Well, I am certainly glad we saved that show for last. That was awesome.
That was fantastic.
I saw you
That-
jumping out of your chair quite a few times in that. So,
Yeah.
once again, I'm just gonna let you go and just.
Okay, I will. So, there's one thing I'm gonna have to explain on the scorecard. Your use of space was basically like phenomenal. However, it did go out of frame a little bit in the video, and we knock people off for that all the time, and I'm so sorry. But yeah, just gotta explain that ahead of time. The other thing, I don't worry, I got praise after all this. But then the other thing was, he had a little bit of like wobbliness, and I noticed it was probably because he was standing. It's a lot harder to keep your stuff still, really still, and like not wobbling when you're standing versus when you have your torso planted on the ground. Um, uh, and that's also tough because that also him standing is part of how he uses a lot of his space. So that's a tough one. But when it comes to his moves, holy moly, his execution is phenomenal. It is like I'm this guy has to have a dance background of some kind. It just but the so when with his moves also there was this quality to it where it was hard to tell exactly how complicated the move was versus it being the way he was executing it. If you know what I mean.
Actually, no. I was gonna say, can you elaborate on that a little bit more, real quick, for me?
Yeah. So I guess I was having a hard time placing the difficulty, sort of the level of technicality. Um, how do I put it? If I was judging traditionally, like sitting at home, that's one of those ones where I probably would have had to watch it twice, um, just to see exactly what was going on. because a lot of his movements were really big. You know, you might see something like he'd come up and then he'd like, you know, bring it down at like something else, and so you don't quite see everything that's going on. Um,
Yeah, I agree. I think that as great as a lot of that stuff was, the some of the out of frame stuff you can tell it's like okay, it's supposed to be. You can tell this is intentional. Like with some of the stuff
Yes.
he was bringing it up here out of frame, and then coming back down. Like yes, that was intentional. But like some of the stuff over here, and then I think there was some of the stuff that he was kind of like at the bottom as well, that did not look intentional, and it kind of is like it's like I think I know what you were doing there, but I can't assume because I'm supposed to be judging objectively.
Yeah, it's part of it, but some of the things that made it harder to judge, like I have a rough idea of where it was with difficulty, but um, it did make it a little hard to place, like, you know, like a 1 point difference, so to speak. But I think that sacrifice was certainly not in vain in all of the showmanship related categories, because he just smashed that. That was so much fun to watch.
I agree. That was a lot of fun, and I think that his musicality definitely had some cool stuff going on too. He is I like to call it a musical awareness. It's kind of like the in between for musicality, and it's like you're like make no mistake, the musicality was there as well. But the awareness before that and the ability to portray the song not necessarily through the movement, but through I'm sorry. Not necessarily like move for move to beat for beat, but the overall that everybody talks about, like oh well he didn't necessarily hit all the beats, but like the vibe of the song. That's the musical awareness, right? That's what that is, right? And I think he really nailed that well. And you can, like you said, you can see the dance background in there. And if he doesn't have a dance background, you can tell the guy just likes dance or likes to dance, because that's exactly where his inspiration came. And it was and like you said, his showmanship, he just knocked it out of the park. You're doing my job for me. I don't even have to. I'm just here to put in a score basically, but you're doing most of the talking and most of my job here. So thanks for that, Mr. Van Flo. So that concludes the end of round 2. I'll be back, as I mentioned, to close out the group with all the scores from round 2, as well as the playoff matches, not only for each group, but for the contenders as well. So we'll be back there. Mr. Van Flo, would you like to join me for that round 2 wrap up?
Why the heck not?
All right. Well,
Sounds like a lot of fun to me.
Fantastic. So we'll be back. We'll see you guys in a couple days, and we'll get that taken care of. But in the meantime, hope you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining us. Again, Mr. Van Flo, thank you very much. We'll see you guys later.
You got moves.